All right, guys, today we are giving you insight into Week 12. And what does that mean? We're hitting you with the top streaming quarterbacks to get you ready for your playoffs, get ready for some top streaming defenses, and of course, we're going to be nailing down our hit it's and quit it's. And don't forget, check us out across all social media platforms on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, X, and more. We love you guys. Let's go.
All right. Welcome to the show. This is the Frankly Fantasy Football Podcast. We are your hosts, Frankie and Johnny. Welcome in, Frankie. We are getting out of Week 11, and we're heading into Week 12. You ready for Week 12? Are you freaking out?
So I'm freaking out of excitement, John. That's what I'm freaking out for. I'm excited as a guy on Christmas morning. That's
oh, wow. You really, I thought you were going somewhere with that.
Damn it, I missed it.
You really didn't get there. Try again.
All right,
later.
ready? I'm excited like a schoolboy on Christmas morning. That's also not very good. We'll figure that one out, but I'm excited, John.
I'm as happy as a little girl.
It's like
It's the Austin Powers.
It's like the old Starburst commercial, like, berries and cream. Berries and cream. I don't know.
This episode brought to you by Berries and Cream Starburst. Thank you so much for joining us, everybody. We are getting you into Week 12. We're going to get into Week 12 today, guys. We've got our Thursday Night Football preview. We're going to review some of the news and notes. We've got a lot of buys this week, guys. It's going to hurt bad. So we're going to talk about some streaming options for your playoffs, and we're going to get you into some hit it's and quit it's with our starts and sits of the week. All right, Frankie, you want to get into some news, baby?
Let's do it, Johnny.
Let's get into some news, baby. News and notes. All right, before we get into the news, guys, I just want to say thank you so much for following us on social media. If you like this video, please follow us everywhere on social media. Also, we know you listen on audio everywhere podcasts are found. Please follow, subscribe, watch on YouTube, guys. The YouTube videos are great. All right, let's get into some news here, Frankie. First bit of news, we got a shit show continuing here. The shit show continues in New York. The Jets have fired their GM, Joe Douglas. What the fuck's going on with New York, man?
I mean, dumpster fire, John. I mean, on both sides, whether you're looking at the Giants, whether you're looking at the Jets, it's just a mess. But the Jets, man, I mean, you fire Robert Saleh, you fire Joe Douglas, you bring in Aaron Rodgers, who's playing like shit. Devontae Adams is surely going to cure all issues, right? Absolutely not. It is as bad as it gets, man. I really think it is.
I mean, as a Browns fan, I'm just thankful there's another team taking it. Nobody even cares about the Browns. Like, whatever. Throw them out there with Carolina and some of these shitbag. But the Jets, oh my God, man. I mean, just headline after headline. What do they do next year? Are you going to build a team now around Aaron Rodgers after firing basically the entire staff? What do you do?
I mean, you know, the guy who actually has a lower winning percentage than Zach Wilson on the Jets. Think about that. That's absurd to even say that out loud. He has a worse winning percentage than Zach Wilson did for the Jets. And so for me, man, I don't know. This is crazy. Like, this is almost unprecedented because this is a Hall of Fame quarterback. 100% he's a Hall of Fame quarterback playing terrible ball. The defense is playing terrible. Man, I think you got to strip it down to the bare bones here. And I think you got to start building up like that. And maybe you're going to ride it on the coattails of Aaron Rodgers and you're going to put linemen around him that can give him additional time. But honestly, man, at the end of the day, he's playing like shit. So is the defense. There's a lot of issues going on.
He needs to go see a shaman. That's all I can say. Aaron, you're going to have to go see a shaman, brother, because things are not working, man. Not at all. You know what? One thing about it is that, I mean, if you want to silence Aaron Rodgers, it's just him playing like shit and the team sucking. He hasn't said shit.
Not at all.
He has nothing to back it up. He can't point any fingers because he knows the first finger he needs to be looking at is his own right in the goddamn mirror, man. All right, let's get to some more news here. Brock Purdy, quarterback for the 49ers, dealing with some shoulder soreness. Shouldn't keep him out this week, but keep an eye on that. If we need to give you an update on Fridays with Frankie, we'll do that. Jonathan Brooks, rookie running back, has not played yet this year. We're going to see him. We're going to finally see him on the field here, Frankie. Running back for the Carolina Panthers. He will debut in Week 12 versus Kansas City. What do you do? I know you drafted him. I think you traded him away. I've got him in a league or two. Been sitting on him this long. What do you talk to the Jonathan Brooks owners? Can we finally play him? Where do we play him? When do we play him? What do we do with him now?
Absolutely not. I'm not playing him this week, guys. This is against Kansas City. He's going to be splitting time with Chuba. They just paid Chuba, which rightfully so. But this is not the week that I would be looking to roll out Jonathan Brooks. And to be honest with you, man, this is going to feed into some issues as well with Chuba, right? Because if Jonathan Brooks even comes in and starts taking 30% of the snap share, which if you draft a guy in the second round of that talent like Jonathan Brooks, right, he could end up eating into that. And so for me, man, I think it's a lose-lose for both Chuba owners as well as Jonathan Brooks owners, not just because Brooks is back, but also due to the matchup as well.
All right, Adam Thielen for the Carolina Panthers, also expected to play this week as well. Not a great start, but again, we're missing a lot of people if you're in deeper leagues. I know start sits in my 14-team double flex league. It's almost a joke because if you've got a healthy guy on your bench, you're probably plugging him in.
For sure.
Yeah, but regular leagues, 12, 10-man leagues, you can't be starting Jonathan Brooks or Adam Thielen for that matter this week against Kansas City. All right, Gabe Davis, wide receiver for the Jacksonville Jaguars, out for the season with meniscus repair. Gabe Davis is gone. That team really has gone down the tubes. Just everybody's missing here. New York Giants. Hey, a little more drama in New York while we're at it. Let's see it. Right. Let's go to Times Square here. New York Giants are going to be starting Tommy DeVito. Hey, Tommy DeVito. All right, let's go. Yeah, Tommy Cutlets. In place of the benched Daniel Jones. Daniel Jones is not even the backup. The backup is Drew Lock. All right, break this down, man. We were laughing our asses off about this earlier. Talk to me about the Giants. What the hell's happening here?
I mean, dude, it's so bad. I mean, like, because at the end of the day, you look at the contract for Daniel Jones, and first of all, Daniel Jones has made over, I believe it was $108 million in the last 6 years, and he has very little to show for it. And so you would think, hey, he's probably going to be backup. What this tells me is, John, he's gone. He is nowhere on their radar moving forward. Next year, you bump him to quarterback 3. And then what's interesting is you're playing Tommy DeVito over Drew Lock. You know what that tells me is they are actively trying to tank. I really think so, John, because there's no way in hell you sign a backup in Drew Lock and pay him what you're paying him, a couple million, and you're paying Tommy DeVito, I think it's like $845,000 or something like that. And you're going to roll his ass out there to be, a viable option, a real option when you have Drew Lock. No, man. What they're doing is they're putting themselves in a position to get the best possible draft pick possible, while also, in my opinion, kind of putting a blindfold over the fans a bit. And what I mean by that is at least Tommy DeVito gives the fans a little bit of juice. They give them a little bit of craziness. The agents wearing the top hat, Italian doll, they got something to at least like jive with. It's kind of like the Minshew mania. You know what I mean? He wasn't very good, but at the same time, you love him as a fan. So I honestly think it's kind of a smart move by the Giants, John, if I'm being honest with you, because you're putting the blindfold over the fans by doing this. You don't have to, you're done with Daniel Jones. You're drawing the line in the sand, and you're kind of able to tank in a savvy way. They're going to go get their quarterback this year, man. So, yeah, it's going to be tough if you're a Giants fan the rest of this year. There's hope. There's hope for the draft and for things to come, but we'll wait and see.
Now, I like Tyrone Tracy the rest of the year, but
love Tyrone Tracy.
What are we doing with Malik Neighbors? I mean, do you try this? Could be I know in our leagues, a lot of leagues, that week 12 is the deadline for trades.
Yep.
Are you going to try to move Malik Neighbors just for the name value and what he was able to do early in the year, maybe to get you another piece?
For me, absolutely not. Guys, I'm rolling. I'm staying in the flames of Malik Neighbors. And the reason being is because there truly isn't anyone else other than Tyrone Tracy. Sure, there's Wan'Dale Robinson, and sure, he's performed decent, but nobody of superstar caliber. And for me, man, I really believe that you could put anybody behind that center spot as a quarterback and looking to throw the ball. Malik Neighbors is open, actually, to the tune of he is the most open player, John, right now through 11 weeks. Through 11 weeks, he gets open the most out of any player in the NFL. So if you can just kind of get it in his vicinity, give him a shot, I think that just by sheer target volume alone, he's going to give you a phenomenal floor heading into the rest of your year.
Great schedule for receivers as well moving forward. Tampa Bay, Dallas, New Orleans, Baltimore, Atlanta, Indy. Really nice schedule, man. So, all right, good advice there. I was wondering, asking for a friend if I should have him trade or her trade Malik Neighbors. Answer is no. Schedule's too good. He's a ball hog. I love it. Okay. All right, next report. Oh, God, this one makes my heart sing, baby. I've been sitting on this guy all damn year in a couple leagues. According to Ian Rappaport, Isaiah Pacheco, running back for the Kansas City Chiefs, is, quote, healthy enough to play Week 12, but he may be held out for Week 13 just as a precaution. Frankie, I'm going to need you to write this down, take some notes for our Fridays with Frankie. I need to know about Isaiah Pacheco and whether or not I can put him in my lineup. Is he going to be on the field? If he does, what are we doing here? Are we firing Pacheco straight up? What do you do with Kareem Hunt? What happens if they say he is playing this weekend?
John, if he is playing, if Pacheco is playing, I'm rolling him out there. It is too good of a matchup, guys. They're playing Carolina. I think that you got to temper expectations with Kareem. John, I think that's the reality. Yeah, Pacheco, as good as Kareem has been, you watch Pacheco and you're like, holy shit. If you remember week 1, if you remember end of the year last year, Pacheco's a younger Kareem. And that's what he runs angry as hell. So for me,
I was going to say, he runs very much like Kareem did in his prime.
Exactly. That's exactly it. And so for me, man, I'm firing up Pacheco if he's playing. I'm not going to fire up Kareem. And that's just me personally. I actually, and I want to call that out real quick, John. There were a couple guys that were giving us a little bit of shit on YouTube talking about you can't trade Kareem Hunt. Nobody's going to take him. Everybody already knows. The reality is then you're putting together bad trades. And I can say that because John, you can be as my witness, I have made the trade. I've traded away Kareem Hunt. And yeah, it wasn't super great, but I knew that the split was coming with Pacheco. So what I did in a 12-man league, full PPR, is I traded Kareem Hunt and Marvin Harrison Jr. for Rico Dowdle and Malik Neighbors, right? So I knew I'm taking a hit at the running back spot for the last 2 weeks, knowing that the split was coming, but I'm not losing anything at the receiver spot. So those are the types of trades that you guys need to be thinking about. And right now, you still might have a sliver of hope in that window. If somebody needs them due to the bye weeks, try to offload Kareem Hunt, guys. It is possible, though you're not going to get the value that you could have last week or even the week before. Just wanted to call that out, John.
Never tell Frankie you can't trade somebody because he will immediately go trade that person just to prove you wrong. But no, it's true, though. It's all situational. Yeah, in a vacuum, yes, you should already know that Pacheco's coming, it's looming, and Kareem Hunt's value is dropping. But somebody needed a running back last week for a start, and they're trying to make the playoffs. I've got that in a handful of leagues. Or this week, I would trade for Kareem Hunt. If you're missing all of your running backs, which we'll get to the buys in a second, there are a lot of guys missing. You're missing a couple of running backs. You're going to make a trade. You're going to get a piece to be able to get Kareem Hunt to help you this week right now. So that trade is still possible right now even.
And in that scenario, John, I am starting Kareem Hunt. In that scenario to where I know there's bye weeks, I have my RB1 on bye, RB2 on bye. I'm rolling out dog shit at this point. I'm definitely taking the risk and firing up Kareem at that point.
Even if Kareem gets 30 to 50% of the carries, which it's not going to be a Pacheco 80% of the carries. I mean, that's very unlikely in his first week back, especially when they're not going to need him to do that. I could see Kareem Hunt closing this game out, getting Pacheco ready for the next week. All right, let's move on here. We've got Darnell Mooney injured his hamstring. Is not considered to be serious. They're on a bye this week. He should be good to go after the bye. Just keep an eye on that for the Mooney owners. Zamir White and Alexander Madison, both running backs for the Las Vegas Raiders, both got hurt last week. So this week, we've got Amir Abdullah looking to start for Week 12 versus Denver.
Fire him up, John. Fire him up.
Start of the week, baby. Amir Abdullah. No, I thought it was too easy to set Amir Abdullah as my sit of the week. I almost said sit the entire goddamn Raider team except for Brock Bowers, but that was just too weak and too easy for me. I don't want to be chalk, you know? All right, a couple guys in concussion protocol here. Tajay Spears and Jake Ferguson, both in concussion protocol, highly likely to miss this week. All right, last piece of news. We got Big Mike coming back, man. Mike Evans returned to practice, looks good, feels good. He is set to play, barring any setbacks this week. So fire up Mike Evans, and man, is he going to get a ton of Baker Mayfield targets. Baker can't wait. Trust me, Baker can't wait. All right, let's look at week 12 here, Frankie. Let's move forward here. We've got the Bills on bye.
Wow.
We've got the Bengals on bye. We've got the Falcons on bye. We've got the Jags on bye, the Jets, and the Saints. Good God, the fantasy gods are not smiling upon us right now, man. This is a ton of fantasy. These are a ton of guys that are going to be missing, and it's right in the worst time of the year when people are trying to make the playoffs. I know I am, and this is going to make it a lot harder. All right, Frankie, let's talk a little bit about some streaming candidates here. We want to talk about streaming quarterbacks for your playoffs and streaming defenses for your playoffs. The reason why we want to talk about it right now, guys, is because you need to be looking at this. I've got Jaden Daniels on a bye in week 14. I'm planning ahead right now so I can cover that. You need to be looking at your playoffs. If you're streaming quarterbacks and defenses, which a lot of people are, look at the matchups. You may have somebody playing against Pittsburgh's defense in week 1 of your playoffs. You don't want that. If you can find a better option, look for a better option. Guys with nice matchups, guys you can pick up off the waiver wire. So we're going to look at this for you. We're going to name a few guys that you can look at that may be able to help you out in week 15, 16, and 17 here. We're going to talk about 3 quarterbacks specifically that I think you can pick up now that can help you for at least 2 of the 3 of these weeks if you're looking at that. That's Baker Mayfield, it's Bo Nix, and it's Justin Herbert. All right, so let's break it down for week 15. Frankie, let's talk about some of these quarterbacks for week 15 that you can look at streaming.
John, for me, Baker Mayfield is huge, guys. Again, thinking about really Baker Mayfield, it's going to be week 16 and week 17. You're going to be targeting Baker Mayfield. But week 15, it's definitely Bo Nix. Guys, what Bo Nix has been able to do is it's incredible. It really is incredible. I mean, he's quarterback number 7 in most leagues at this point in time. He has over 24 total touchdowns. Dude has been balling. And then you walk into week 15, John, and you're staring at the Colts right now. And so for me, that is a really solid matchup and what's interesting too, this could have a lot of playoff implications in the real NFL standpoint. Like right now, the Broncos are the last team in, but the Colts are right there behind them. They're not too far. So this is a lot of playoff implication, meaning that the Bo Nix is going to have to play his ass off. So for me, man, I love Bo Nix in week 15 and love him in week 17 against the Cincinnati Bengals, to where really the Bengals defense has been pretty putrid all year outside of, a few games. So I love that from that perspective. John, the other quarterback, Justin Herbert, week 15 matchup, honestly, is probably as good as it can get. You're playing against Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay, from a passing perspective, passing defense perspective, has been really, really rough, right? You can throw the ball on them all over the field, right? Justin Herbert alone has really come into his own. He's vibing in this Jim Harbaugh type of offense, and he's also getting a plethora of pieces involved, including that of McConkey, Quentin Johnston, and he's getting the J.K. Dobbins. It's just what the Chargers have going on is really special, man. So for me, looking at Justin Herbert in week 15 against Tampa, that is a must start in my opinion. So if you guys can plan ahead, if Justin Herbert's sitting on that on the waiver wire, pick his ass up, man. It's great. And then you can look at week 17 as well for Justin Herbert against that of New England at New England. And so I really think that that's a good AFC showdown. It'll be fun to watch that of Drake May, Justin Herbert. And again, Justin Herbert and them, they got a lot to fight for right now, man. I mean, they're 7-3, John. We're talking Chiefs are 9-1. Something happens, Chiefs slip a game, and Herbert ends up, continuing what he's been doing. Now we might have a little showdown here coming for the divisional title. So even through week 17, guys, that's another thing you want to be thinking of too, is that when you start getting into that Super Bowl time frame, you want to make sure that some of these quarterbacks or players are also not going to be benched due to waiting, they're already in the playoffs themselves. The coaches want to be really careful with the team, so on and so forth. So if there's teams like that of the Denver Broncos or like the Chargers, when they have something to fight for, target the shit out of those teams. Again, same thing with Baker, as I mentioned, looking at week 16 and week 17, John, Dallas and Carolina, gold. So those are the three. I love how you called those out. Those are absolutely the three that I'm targeting.
And Justin Herbert, also, more shallow leagues, you'll be able to pick him up likely on the waiver wire. But Justin Herbert is a trade for candidate for me.
Time.
For those exact reasons. When you look at his game logs, first 4 weeks, they ran the ball a lot. He didn't throw for over 180 yards in any game. Then they had their bye week. Soon as their bye week hit, he's thrown almost over 250 yards every game but one. I mean, just really been balling out, multiple touchdowns in 3 out of the 5. I mean, he's really, really been playing well. Last 2 weeks, he was the quarterback 8, quarterback 12 before that, quarterback 9. So he's coming on. I mean, this team is really starting to come on. The coaching has started to saturate itself. I mean, Harbaugh obviously has really turned this team around. And I mean, I really think he is, 38 points, 26 points, 33 points, 38 points, last 4 games. So Justin Herbert, with the schedule he's got coming up, Baltimore, Atlanta, Kansas City, Tampa Bay, these are all very nice teams to be able to throw on as a quarterback. So I really like it. I think he's a trade for candidate, and I also think he's a wonderful streaming candidate for your playoffs. All right, Frankie, let's look at week 17 here. What are some of the quarterbacks that we're looking at for week 17 in your Super Bowl? Now, again, we talked about Baker having multiple weeks in the playoffs. If you get him, you can kind of set it and forget it. You can do one of those. Bo Nix, again, has a couple of weeks, and Justin Herbert has a couple of weeks. But there's a few other guys we want to talk about that may be good streaming candidates for your Super Bowl.
John, the other few that I'm thinking of, and one guy that comes to mind right away is Matt Stafford. The way Matt Stafford has been cooking lately, now that he's got his toys back, he got, the Lambo waiting with Puka, you got the Corvette with Cooper Kupp, right? You got all this shit kind of going on. You got Kyron Williams with your Porsche. He's got all these beautiful toys that he's ready to unload. And by the way, correct me if I'm wrong, I believe that they are either one game behind or they're tied for the division lead at this point in time. So, John, they are really on fire. And here's what's really cool. When you start looking at what Stafford has done, since week 8, okay, this is since week 8 whether it's a super flex or even a one quarterback league here, John, it's been pretty incredible. So I got this up since week 8 here. We have 33.76 fantasy points against Minnesota. He had 21.92 points against Seattle. Yeah, he had a down week against Miami. Sure, we'll toss that one out. And last week, John, 36.8 points. He's had over 20 points in 3 out of the last 4. And then you're telling me that you're going to be sitting there in week 17 looking at a game that could decide, again, we talked about it just now, a game that could decide a division. And you're telling me you don't want Matt Stafford on your team for that? Damn it, dude. I'm loving every bit of it, man. So Matt Stafford is definitely one of those guys for me.
All right, let's talk about another guy here with Tua Tagovailoa. It's kind of surprising we can talk about him as a streaming quarterback, but he is. Let's face it, he's a streaming quarterback. He was gone for a while, and people made other choices, and now he's back. But Tua at Cleveland in week 17. Do you trust that for your Super Bowl?
You know what, John? I'm gonna err on the side of actually no. And the reason being is, and I know we have them listed here, but I wanted to keep it here because I wanted to talk about it. Tua is interesting because Tua does very, very well when there is indoors or in good weather. When you're thinking about Tua heading into Cleveland in dog shit weather in week 17 against a team who has nothing to lose in Cleveland, that is a team I necessarily don't want to be having my starting quarterback play for, and knowing it's probably going to be in frigid cold weather, snow, rain, something like that. We've seen the Dolphins melt down. So even though on paper, sure, it looks good, and yeah, Tyreek Hill's back, and sure, Waddle's looking good, do I even need to say anything about Jonnu Smith after last week? But here's the reality, man, is that when we start boiling this down, do you want to anchor your potential Super Bowl quarterback against a team and in an environment to where he's been known not to really play that great. And so for me, I'm actually leaning towards not starting Tua. And I know we didn't even talk about this, so this is probably kind of a shock to you. Curious what you think about that.
All right, let's pretend we look at the 10-day forecast in week 15, and it looks. Let's take the weather out of it. I agree with you 100%.
Okay.
The way I look at it, Cleveland, being a Cleveland fan, I've got the stupid helmet in the background. I'm ready to throw it out the window.
Yeah.
Being a Cleveland fan, come week 17, nobody's playing for anything, man. Denzel Ward, not going to be on the team likely next year anyway. I could see him being injured in week 17 and not playing. Myles Garrett really hasn't been a factor. I just think this team doesn't care anymore. I think it's a team. If the weather's good, I do think that the Dolphins do end up rolling on this team. I really do. I think it could be a possibility for you, but yeah, really good call with the weather, because you're absolutely right. Outdoors, in inclement weather, we've seen enough of Tua to see that is going to be a struggle for him.
John, I'll tell you what, though. This other guy is somebody I would take over Tua, and it's Anthony Richardson. That's a hot take there, especially
how quickly we forget. One good week out of Anthony Richardson, basically all year, by the way. Guy gets benched, comes back in last week, and guess what? He balled out. He played very, very well. Highest completion percentage he's ever had in the NFL last week.
Great job.
So there you go.
Tip of the cap. I mean,
Yep.
dude, it was a tip of the cap to Anthony Richardson, and you know what? Good for you, dude. Good for you for stepping up after all this shit. Rightfully so. Rightfully so. You got to grow up a little bit and learn. You can't say, even if you're feeling it, you can't say you're tired. That's not an excuse. It's not an excuse. You got to be tougher than that. And that's just the reality of it. Let's set that to the side. Week 17, he's at the Giants. We're talking about it. We got Tommy Cutlets versus Anthony Richardson here, man. Potentially. It could be Drew Lock.
Prime time. Flex it, baby.
So I'm telling you, man, I think Anthony Richardson would give you a bit higher floor due to his rushing capability. Again, if the Colts are kind of still in it, it makes it even better. So I would even be leaning, again, we're talking, this is week 12 right now. There's a lot of time in between now and week 17. But as it sits right now, I would be leaning actually towards more A-Rich.
And we're also talking about, we just talked about the Giants potentially tanking.
Yeah.
So, I want my quarterback playing against a team that's tanking for the first overall pick.
Definitely.
That's what I want. Yeah. All right, let's talk about some defenses here, man. We got a handful of defenses that we can lay out. Look at streaming for week 15, 16, and 17. Talk to me about some defenses you like here, man.
Guys, Arizona Cardinals, first one that sticks out. And I know we talked about it on our last week episode when we were like, pick up these guys, trade for candidates, James Conner, Kyler Murray, Marv, right, Trey McBride, etc. Look at the defense as well. Week 15 is against New England, right? That's a pretty damn good matchup for a defense. And then week 16, John, I'm just salivating. It is at Carolina. Okay, like anytime you're playing against Bryce Young, and yeah, shout out Bryce Young, you're cleaned up your act a little bit. Good job, man. Tip of the cap. Arizona should come in and do their business, right? That's just the reality of it. So if you get an opportunity to get Arizona and you can stash them right now, that would be fantastic for you in the long haul.
All right. Let's talk to me a little bit about, this is one that I wouldn't normally want to sit on this defense, but I think because of their matchups coming up week 15 and 16, I think we have to, right? Talk to me about the Falcons, man.
Yeah, John, this is a really good comp because the Falcons defense is very similar in my eyes as like what the Jacksonville defense would be. And Jacksonville is another team we have listed on here, and I'll tell you why. Atlanta's week 15 is at Vegas. Love that. It's inside. It's great. Vegas is kind of in turmoil right now, not doing a super good job, even though Gardner Minshew had a good game. Overall, they're kind of an abysmal type of team. And then you have week 16 against them Giants. So there's a little bit of a pattern here, Johnny, if I do say so myself. So
Yeah.
week 15, week 16 guys with those types of matchups. Look at Jacksonville then as well. You look at week 16 and week 17, we got Vegas again. So Jacksonville is at Vegas. And then week 17, they're playing against Tennessee. And honestly, Will Levis has not been playing well at all. And the offense hasn't been looking very good under Levis. The only shining bright star, honestly, is Ridley and maybe Pollard if you can stomach it in some weeks. So for me, man, I kind of lump those two in together because it's matchup based. to your point, I might not be as prone to stashing them this early, but if you can get them in a week 14, if you can get them in a week, 15 right out of the gate, definitely good options for your playoff start.
Yeah, and we're not telling you guys to pick these defenses up now.
No.
We're telling, if you can, sure. If you're sitting at the number 1 seed, you have no chance of not being that number 1 seed, start planning out your streamers now for the playoffs. Of course, most people are trying to fight their way into the playoffs, so don't do it now. One team, a defense that I'm looking at that I think you can pick up next week, and you can play them in week 14, 15, and 16. So that can save you 3 weeks of having to deal with the defense. It's the Cincinnati Bengals. They're at Dallas, then at Tennessee, and then they play Cleveland in Cleveland. I really like this one. What do you think about Cincinnati with these?
John, Cincinnati, and yes, the answer is yes, I do like it. And it's funny because I was just talking about how, their defense hasn't been super great. Well, the difference is who they're playing against, obviously, like in these particular games here, and how good their offense has been. Like, so when you start looking at Joe Burrow and him being unbelievable the last few weeks, and then you have the potential Triple Crown winner in that of Jamar Chase, and Chase Brown looks good. T. Higgins comes back and looks like an absolute monster. And then you start layering on, okay, they're running up the score. Now the offenses they're playing against are one-dimensional. They're going to have to throw the ball, right? And then when you're telling me you got it, Cooper Rush is going to have to throw the ball on us? Okay, go ahead. Bring it, right? You looking at Tennessee, Will Levis? No, Mason Rudolph? Bring it. Cleveland? God, bring it all day. Fuck Cleveland. Fuck them. I hate them. But yeah, dude. Yeah, it's sickening. I literally am looking and seeing this shit behind me. I just hate them. But yeah, dude. So I love those matchups, and I love the fact that the Bengals have the opportunity to run the score up. And again, when we talk about these types of teams that have to fight to get into their own playoff, the number one team that comes to my mind is the Bengals. Right now, totally outside looking in. They're 2 games out right now from the 7th seed in the AFC. They are the team 100% that needs to throw everything on the line. And with that is scary for fantasy in a good way. So yes, I do like it for weeks 14, 15, 16 especially.
All right, last team we want to talk about here. We're picking on the Giants and the Titans, obviously, but take a look at the Colts as well. Colts play at home versus Tennessee in week 16, and then they play at the Giants in week 17. Really nice matchup, especially if the Colts are still in the hunt, which they currently are. So keep an eye on that one. All right, Frankie, let's get to the Thursday night football preview. What do we have going on for Thursday night football, man?
Guys, we're going to dive into Thursday night. And of course, our Thursday night is sponsored by our new sponsor and partnership with BetStamp and Sign Up Expert. Guys, again, we say it every week, and every week somebody else signs up and says, you guys rock. Thank you for those bonus bets and things of that nature. What this does is it's opened up an incredible opportunity for you to join some of our favorite sports books to get the best odds and new user offers. So how does it work? You head over to our dedicated page, signupexpert.com/frankly, to explore a selection of tailored sports books to your region, each with unique offerings. Throw in $20, get a bonus bet back if you lose. Get additional bonus bets as a whole, right? And so you get an opportunity. Maybe it's a no sweat, whatever it may be. Check it out. If you're ready to take your sports betting to the next level and show some love for the Frankly brand, which we appreciate more than you know, we highly recommend signing up for your next sportsbook through Sign Up Expert. Link, you can find it in the description of our video. Again, sponsored by our Thursday night preview. So with that being said, guys, we have the Steelers 8-2 at the Cleveland Browns 2-8. John, I don't think there's much more to say about this. I think that look at from the Steelers side, guys, you love you some Freiermuth, you love you some Najee, you love you some, George Pickens. You're probably even fine to start Russ, if I'm being honest with you. If you need, with all these bye weeks, fire him up. Really, shit, man. If you honestly even need Jaylen Warren and you have all these other players on bye, maybe you had James Cook, Breece Hall, Braylon Allen, Bijan Robinson, whatever it may be, Alvin Kamara, Taysom Hill, right? You can now plug and play Jaylen Warren in one of those spots as well. That's how bad the Browns have been from that perspective. John, flip side of it is, when you look at the Browns, who can you actually trust against this defense? Guys, it's damn near nobody. You look at what the defense did against Lamar. You look at what the defense did against Zay Flowers. You look at what this defense has done against the most top caliber teams in the NFL. And for the most part, they've locked them up. I mean, actually, just calling this out, the Steelers, and I believe this to be correct, I'll need to be checked on this, so all you crazies out there, please call me out on this. However, the Steelers are the only team in the NFL this year to win at least twice, 2 games to where they haven't scored a touchdown. Think about that. That's how good their defense has been. That's not how bad their offense has been. That's how good their defense has been. And so when you think about who to fire for the Browns, really it's thin, guys. Njoku, as long as he's healthy, he's a questionable tag right now, but he's looking like he'll probably be okay. Maybe Jerry Jeudy after going nuclear this past week, and maybe Cedric Tillman. John, you can't start Chubb. You can't start Jameis. You can't start any of these other cats. So for me, it's really 3, maybe 2.5-ish for the Browns, and you're firing up the lot of them on the Steelers.
I got an Instagram post from NFL Browns, was the shout out to NFL Browns, whoever runs that channel. And it was a post saying that the Cleveland fans need to boycott the Browns. The only way Jimmy Haslam's going to get this through his goddamn head is if we stop buying tickets. Can you imagine if it's not? I'm telling you right now, there will be more Pittsburgh Steelers fans at Cleveland Browns Stadium on Thursday night than there will be Cleveland Browns fans. It's going to be so, I guarantee you're going to watch, mark my words, they will show big shots of the stadium of the terrible towels shaking around, and you're going to see so much yellow in that stadium. It's going to be disgusting. But you know what? The Browns deserve it.
It's disgusting, man. I mean, we were there. Guys, for those listening and watching, we would do a gentleman's night every single year up until last year. And then, a couple of things happened and we were supposed to, whatever. But this year we were supposed to do, it's always a Thursday night game. And John, we were at the game when Miles ripped off the helmet from Mason Rudolph and swung. We were there when they were opening up the chest because the Browns haven't won shit. And Baker Mayfield comes out for Tyrod Taylor and the whole city is freaking out. And now to see that this game doesn't mean anything is so rough. So for me, man, I agree with you. I agree with you that we need to rip it down to the studs and figure it out, man, because the fans deserve more. The city deserves more. And this is not a knock to the Steelers fans or anything like that. You know what, guys? Hats off to you. Because going into the year, the Steelers were the redheaded stepchild in the AFC North. Nobody wants to really say it outright. That's the real thing. They were not sure about Russ. Russ was always he's too happy-go-lucky. Oh, he's, doing weird shit or car wheels or something on the airplane or whatever the hell was going on, or yelled at somebody because of it. Whatever it may be. George Pickens was being crazy. They had to trade Diontae Johnson, a lot of shit. And look at this. They are phenomenal, and it's because of the organization. So
2 words for you. Mike Tomlin.
Mike Tomlin.
Mike Tomlin. He's one of the best coaches to ever get on the field and coach the game. Longest
tenured coach active in the NFL right now. 18 years. 18 or 17 years, something like that. 17 or 18. Crazy. I mean, hats off to you. So good job, Steelers fans. Good job sticking with your team. Yeah, man.
All right, let's move on to something more exciting here, Fred. Now we both got a little depressed. We're just like, man, another season. All right, see you next year, guys. All right, let's get to our hit it's and quit it's, baby. Let's hit it and quit it. All right, Frank, our hit it's and quit it's, for those of you who don't know, that is our starts and sits. We'll see who we want to hit and start, who we want to quit and sit. Frankie, who is your first hit it this week?
John, my first hit it is coming out of the Broncos, baby. Broncos country, let's ride. Going with Courtland Sutton at Vegas. And yes, last time I said start Courtland Sutton, I got a bunch of crap for it. This time I'm saying it, y'all better listen. Vegas is not playing great, and at this point they have gave up many, many points to receivers. Also on that point, Courtland Sutton is averaging 9.5 yards a target per game. And that's over the last 4 games. In addition to that, over the last 4 games, guys, he's also averaging 7 receptions a game. 7 receptions a game and 9.5 targets a game over the last 4 weeks. And in addition, he hasn't had less than 70 yards in the last 4 weeks. So what does that mean just by averages alone? 14 points in full PPR. Fire up Courtland Sutton against that of the Las Vegas Raiders.
All right, we're going to go with the stack, Frankie. This is our stack of the week, man. My start of the week goes right with your start of the week.
Right.
It's going to be Bo Nix, quarterback for the Denver Broncos at the Las Vegas Raiders. Also, by the way, DFS lineups, beautiful stack with Courtland Sutton and Bo Nix. I will be having that in my lineup for sure. All right, Bo Nix, we talked about it. He's the quarterback 7 right now, guys. Let's not forget about this. Quarterback 7. Last week, he was 28 for 33 for 307 yards with 4 touchdowns over Atlanta. Just a beautiful week for a rookie, man. Top 12 performance. He was a top 12 QB in 5 of his last 7 games with multiple touchdowns in each. It's beautiful, man. He's only thrown 2 picks since week 3. Let me repeat that. He's only thrown 2 picks since week 3 as a rookie quarterback. Unbelievable. Sean Payton's, he's the whisperer, man. He really is. The other reason why I love Bo Nix this week, and for that matter, Courtland Sutton, Raiders give up the 8th most fantasy points to QBs.
Yep.
This is a matchup. You saw in our streaming how we are attacking the Raiders defense when it comes to playoff matchups and schedules. Attack it right now with Bo Nix. Put him out there. He's got a rushing floor. He's throwing great. He's making really good decisions. Get him out there and enjoy it.
John, Bo Nix and like Courtland Sutton this week, are we like peanut butter and chocolate? People always say peanut butter and jelly. No, it's peanut butter and chocolate.
Yeah,
I mean, would you
jelly?
agree?
Who eats jelly? I'm a grown-ass man. When's the last time you've had jelly on anything?
Put some hair on your chest, John. We've got peanut butter and chocolate up in here, all right? All right, my hit at number 2 here is Jauan Jennings from the head of the 49ers playing at Green Bay. Guys, here's the deal. Back-to-back games with 11 targets. We 17 receptions in those 2 games, and he has 184 yards. He is going crazy. Now, you might be thinking, well, Green Bay's defense is good. It is good. But here's what's interesting, is that CMC is back. Defenses have to now key on him. George Kittle, if he is healthy, is going to be a person that the defense needs to key on. Then you also have Deebo Samuel. What happens is Jauan Jennings is constantly getting one-on-one matchups, or in a zone, he's getting a smaller nickel, or he's getting an outside linebacker that can't run with him, or a cornerback, right, in his zone play that they're just going to run over top. So for me, man, Jauan Jennings is in a perfect position to continue doing what he's doing. And as long as Brock Purdy's healthy, right? We called it out that he has some arm soreness and things like that. Should be fine. But I definitely love Jauan Jennings this week.
All right, my second start of the week, my second hit it. It's Brian Robinson Jr., running back for the Washington Manders versus Dallas. First of all, Brian Robinson Jr., he's a goddamn touchdown machine, man. 7 touchdowns in the last 8 games that he's played. Dallas, the defense they're playing, it's the 4th worst in allowing fantasy points to running backs. I mean, we all witnessed it on Monday night when they got torched by Joe Mixon. Torched by Joe Mixon. I'm not saying Brian Robinson's going to have that kind of game. He's not that kind of player, but he's a lock for a touchdown this week. Lock it in right now. Johnny's lock of the week, Brian Robinson Jr. for a touchdown versus Dallas. I know. Well, he had 16 rushes for 72 yards and a touchdown against the 5th-ranked rushing defense of Philadelphia. He's not going to have those problems against Dallas. He's going to be able to do pretty much what he wants. They get inside the 10 zone, near the red zone there, near the end zone. Brian Robinson is running the ball in. They're all scared of Jaden Daniels, and Robinson walks in touchdowns every single week. Lock it in.
Love it, John. My third hit it, guys, is actually one I'm going to go a bit on the edge here for, and it's Ladd McConkey versus that of the Baltimore Ravens. Here is why I like Laddie this week. Number one is, if we look at what has transpired across the entirety of the season, only one time in the last, well, let's talk about the last 5 weeks here per se. One time in the last 5 weeks, he's had under 5 receptions. Only one time. Really good trajectory. In addition to this, he's had no less than 43 yards in every single game since week 2. So what does that tell me? Knowing that there is a plethora of bye weeks going on, knowing that there are a lot of injuries that have happened as well, McConkey is absolutely somebody, if you have him or you can get him for your flex spot, is gold this week. So lock in Laddie. This game script could be very, very positive, especially after Baltimore Ravens just got smacked by the Steelers. In terms of the Steelers not letting them do anything offensively, this game is looking to be flipped. I could see it being some good scoring here. Laddie's game script could be positive.
All right, my third and final hit it for the week. This one is going to be for the more shallow leagues, 8, 10, even 12-man leagues. It's going to be James Conner, running back for the Arizona Cardinals at Seattle. Right now, James Conner is the running back 16. Now, last week, I know he struggled with the run a little bit against the Jets, a good rush defense. He had 33 yards, but he also had 80 yards in the passing game. That's where James Conner can be very, very dangerous. He's had double digits in every week but 2 weeks this year. That's a running back you want to set and forget. It's beautiful. Now, they're playing against Seattle at Seattle. The last 3 games for Seattle, we've had James Cook, Kyron Williams, and CMC the last 3 games. All of them had over 100 scrimmage yards. I think James Conner's going to continue this trend and get you over 100 scrimmage yards as well, and possibly a score or 2. Start up James Conner and feel good about it. Frankie, who are you quitting this week?
Johnny, these are hot. These are hot takes here, but I'm definitely quitting them. Number 1 is Aaron Jones at Chicago. Guys, that is so difficult to do. I understand, especially with the bye weeks, it's not probably plausible or even feasible for a lot of people. However, if it is, just check yourself for a second. The reason being is because Aaron Jones is actually down to just about a 50% snap share in back-to-back weeks. And actually, it is 52% in week 10 and 53% last week alone. In addition, the Bears have a pretty solid defense. And after that emotional loss against the Packers, I could see them coming out with pure vengeance against another NFC North type of team. Here's what's also a bit concerning about Aaron Jones. Last 4 weeks in half PPR, he's had under 11 points in every single week. So yes, he has you could call it a fairly high floor. But when you actually look at what he did last week, he had 4 points, roughly 5 points in half PPR. Not great, especially when you're needing to make this playoff push. So, John, I actually might look elsewhere. Some of the other guys I'm thinking about, Tyrone Tracy, right, versus Tampa Bay. Bucky Irving versus that of the Giants. You could even looking at Ramondre Stevenson versus that of Miami. There are other players that I would put in front of Aaron Jones this week strictly due to matchup that I think might give you a higher ceiling play for you, especially with bye weeks. So I'm looking at quitting Aaron Jones this week.
All right, my first quit it. It's going to be Michael Pittman Jr. of the Indianapolis Colts, wide receiver. They're playing at home against Detroit this week. I mean, that's enough to scare the shit out of you as it is. Detroit's been playing absolutely dominant and lights out. Michael Pittman Jr. is the wide receiver 53 right now, man. It's been a real big struggle. He's been really hurt. He's been, his back has been hurt. So I know that that's really slowed him down. I said to sit him a few weeks ago for that same reason. I didn't want a decoy on my team, and that's exactly what it looked like he was. Now, he's getting involved. He's getting some targets, but he hasn't scored double-digit points since week 6, man. Week 6. So it's been a while. Josh Downs seems to be the possession receiver. He really is kind of the first look right now for Anthony Richardson, as he was with Joe Flacco. Alec Pierce now seems to be the downfield guy. There's really not really a role at the moment that's clearly defined for Michael Pittman, and it could be because of the injury he's been dealing with. It's a really uneasy connection with Anthony Richardson. Doesn't seem like something that I really want to put out there. I know we're missing a lot of receivers this week because of buys and injuries. If you can avoid Michael Pittman Jr., I absolutely would.
John, my second quit it is actually another super hot take, guys, and it is going to be Chuba Hubbard. I understand that I'm saying to quit the RB10. He's RB1. I understand that there are a ton of bye weeks. So this is an if you can, or this is a 8-10-man league. But here's the reason. Guys, they're playing against a pissed off Chiefs defense, right? And I'm telling you, and I'm saying it specifically like that because they lost. And there was something there that they just against the Bills, there's something that happens. And it looks like after that Bills game is when they always seem to turn it on into hyperdrive heading into their particular playoff push as well. So for me, man, and you look at what James Cook did, sure, on paper, you're like, dude, James Cook had 17, 18 points? He must have balled out. James Cook got bailed out on 2 touchdowns. He was held on 10 rushes to 20 yards. 20 yards on 10 touches. Had he not gotten those touchdowns, we're talking 17, 18 points, 2 points. And the last key point, we already mentioned it, Jonathan Brooks is making his debut. Sure, I don't think Jonathan Brooks is going to come in and it's going to be a 50-50 split, anything like that. I think Chuba is going to carry the load from that perspective. I think it could be like a 70-30, something like that to ease Jonathan Brooks in. But still, you layer on a really tough defensive match, you layer on a really bad team in Carolina, and then you layer on now even level competition in terms of talent level. Sure, opportunity might not be there, but still, it makes it tough. So for me, guys, I might be looking elsewhere than that of Chuba Hubbard.
All right, my final quit it of the week is going to be Diontae Johnson, new wide receiver for the Baltimore Ravens. They're playing at the Los Angeles Chargers this week. Listen, I don't know what's going on with Diontae Johnson here, but the guy's just not getting on the field. The last 2 weeks, his snap percentage in the last 2 weeks was 8%. Last week, it was 18%. He's on the field for 18% of the snaps last week. I know. He's had 1 catch on 4 targets in 2 weeks, guys. He's just not on the field. We were excited about this trade. Yeah. They're clearly just not ready to use him yet. He's really having a difficult time finding a role in this offense. I don't know if he's having a hard time learning the offense, and Harbaugh doesn't want to get him out there until he knows he's completely comfortable. Again, God, this is what a good organization, I guess, and good coaching probably does. I wouldn't know that, being a Browns fan, but maybe this is what you're supposed to do. Either way, playing against the Chargers, not getting on the field, you cannot start Diontae Johnson this week. All right, Frankie, that is the episode for the day. Thank you so much for joining us, everybody. Hopefully we can get you through some of these bye weeks and injuries, or we can give you a few ideas of who you should start and sit. Start planning for your playoffs now. Those of you badasses that are sitting there at the top of your divisions, start planning now. It's going to really piss everyone else off when you start picking up quarterbacks and defenses to plan for the playoffs. Frankie, what do we have coming up, man?
Guys, don't forget, and again, I say it every week because I know y'all love it. Fridays with Frankie. Check it out. I'm definitely going to be giving you a check-in on what's happening with Pacheco. Definitely going to be talking about some Purdy, and we'll have some of the other key highlights getting you ready for your weekend matchups. And again, don't forget, guys, we also have Week 13 coming up. John, one thing that we are going to be doing, and I know we've talked about it, is we want to continue to get you ready for your playoffs. So, guys, if your trade deadline isn't until Week 13, let us know. We've been helping others with different trade ideas. Keep the comments coming. Keep the questions coming. Starts and sits with these bye weeks. We're here for you. I personally and Johnny personally, we answer every single comment possible. There will not go one unanswered unless you're being a dick, and then you might just get a little smiley face, right? So we're here for you. We love you. Don't forget, Fridays with Frankie, and next week's episode, we got you covered.
And thank you so much, guys, for following us on social media. And like Frankie said, send us a message. You can DM us everywhere. We're everywhere you can be. We're on TikTok. We're on X. We're on Instagram, Facebook. Where are we now? Oh, my God, we're on YouTube. Yeah, for Christ, we're on YouTube. Follow us on YouTube, guys. It's Frankly Fantasy Football, and it's everywhere. And please support our sponsor, signupexpert.com/Frankly. Sign up for a new sports book, get some bonus bets, and give us a little love as well. We love you guys. Frankie, any parting words, my man?
Love you guys. Keep going, keep fighting, and take home that W this week.
May the fantasy gods smile upon you. Bye.